watching the Eagles today. It's like, through 2 weeks, we always say, like, oh, you can't judge a team until you get about a month or so in. You really can't, you really don't know who these teams are quite yet. They're still figuring things out. And, today, I love how the defense played. The defense played exactly how I expected them to. But it's just the offense. I mean, now last week, this is the same offense we saw post lightning delay, like pre lightning delay last week. The Eagles' offense looked fine to me. I mean, a couple of times there were a little bit of a questionable play calls, but they scored on, like, what was it, 4 straight drives? So they had 24 points before that lightning delay. It was like 4 straight drives they had scored on, whatever it was, and that was it. And then the lightning delay just screwed up both the Eagles and the Cowboys, but they still won. This week, you know, it was hot. You didn't have to worry about rain or anything like that. But literally from the first snap, Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball while trying to run. I mean, they fell on it, but it was like, okay, I know what kind of game I'm in for if he's fumbling the first play of the game. And then the offense never got in sync. I mean, outside of a Saquon Barkley touchdown run, the offense didn't score at all. They didn't score a single touchdown. Except, I mean, you can count the tush push TD at the end to basically put the game on ice, more or less. But it's like it's just that's not enough. They haven't had a passing touchdown for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks. So it's like that's just it's it's rough. It's because even Kellen Moore's offense, for as bad as it was the first couple weeks, they still scored a bunch of points and they still looked halfway decent. The first 2 games this year. I mean, like I was telling you guys, I feel like I'm watching the Brian Johnson Eagles again, where it's the same, just long developing plays, lack of creativity. There is no motion. There's not enough motion on certain plays, and then you're taking the play clock. Like last year, the team would get the play in and run the play, and they weren't taking the clock down inside of 5 seconds. They were snapping the ball with 7, 8, sometimes even 12 seconds left on the play clock. Still had time. Today, every single play call, whether it was a dead ball or whether it was just a short gain, it's like you got to be thinking a couple steps ahead. You can't be thinking about, like, I wonder what play I'm going to run as the clock is ticking. It's like, it just felt like the operation from top to bottom was just so incredibly sloppy today that it was just hard to. I mean, we're honestly lucky we won because I mean, you look at the false starts that we had that could have been called against us, that could have ruined the game. Uh, both teams didn't play well, and I think the better team overall still won. But it's it's really scary to look at this team through 2 weeks and see that they're barely winning football games. That the good teams, good teams find ways to win, and that's what we always say. And in the first month, it's all about, hey, just stack W's until you figure out who you are, and then you take off. But watching these 2 games, I'm like, last year beating Green Bay in Brazil, playing really well offensively in that game, and then week 2, you had that bad loss to the Falcons. You know, that's a game that you lost. This game felt like you probably should have lost. It's like I'm glad that we get the wins when they, right now stack them as much as you can. But the operation of the offense, the defense is fine. The operation of the offense has to change. The defense is getting turnovers. I think they've had this is, they had a turnover on downs early in this game, so that counted as a turnover. And then they had the interception from Makuba, who had a good game today. So the rookies still played well on the defense. The defensive rookies were really good today. Um, but overall, I mean, if that pick doesn't happen, we lose the game. And I think that if honestly, it's the offensive side of the ball. The operation has to be cleaner. This does not look like the same offense from last year. I mean, it's not going to because it's not Kellen Moore, but Kevin Patullo said in the offseason, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to run roughly the same offense. Through 2 weeks, this is nothing like the same offense last year. It's not even close. So it's a little bit scary, but you know what? We start off 2-0. I'll take it. That's fine by me.
Yeah, Scoop, you can go off that. What did you feel about the offense today?
Yeah, so you know how we talk a lot, whether it's as Eagles fans or just about the Eagles, and we talk back to the 2013 to 2015, the Chip Kelly team, where the offense was very up tempo and very aggressive, very a lot of movement, but it kind of wore down the defense. I feel like what we are watching right now is the antithetical Chip Kelly offense, where there's no creativity whatsoever. There's no motion. The defense has plenty of time on the field. They're eating time of possession, like Pac-Man goes after those little things, whatever they're called. Which again, I'm a big fan of defense, time of possession. Chewing it, running it up the gut, all of that. I'm big on that. I'm big time on that, especially when I got Mr. 26 up the backfield, who I told Brandon during the game is quickly rivaling, I think, a former 25 for perhaps the position of greatest Eagles running back in history. Now, that being said, I watched way too many times, and I heard Brandon say this when I could actually understand what he was yelling about.
Screaming.
Where he was basically just whether it was I'm trying to remember. It was I don't remember if it was a shovel pass or a bubble screen. He was yelling about. I can't remember the exact name of the play.
Oh, I yelled a lot. Scoop, you heard me. I yelled about every single bubble screen and shovel pass today, whatever it was.
Yeah. Okay. So I did have that correct. All right. But basically, they would drop him out, and then they would just make these like tiny little passes that almost lateral out to the left or usually the right.
Swing passes.
Swing pass. Thank you. I knew there was a word I was forgetting. Swing pass. Thank you. And then he would, or there were a couple of times where Jalen Hurts would randomly just try and throw these deep, these 95 goes up the left side, and they would basically. He tried to put up a couple, and now to his credit, most of the time I saw that happen. The guy the intended receiver came down with the ball. So at least there's that when he throws the hospital balls, usually it ends up okay. But there was the element of just feeling too predictable. I'm not the most X's and O's tactician savvy. When it comes to football, and even I, a good amount of the time, felt like I knew what was coming. I also did feel like kind of running it down, and then I also just found it very odd that I felt like some of the draws that were run with Saquon, I just kind of felt like we're not putting the offense in position to like we saw it. There were a couple of times where they were on like genuine long, like we're talking like 15 yards to go, and they're throwing these inside runs up the middle, and Brandon and I are looking at each other like, huh?
Yeah.
Like even without Goddard, you got 2 or 3 solid threats up there. Even if they're doubling one of them, which that did happen with AJ Brown after seemingly being AWOL last week. AJ Brown actually was targeted for a team leading 8 times today. He only came down with 5. So they definitely, the offense was definitely looking to get AJ Brown more in the game. Unfortunately, on the flip side of that, the defense was also more prepared to keep AJ Brown out of the game. Again, big ups for the defense. I like the decent amount of what I saw from Jalen Hurts, both that will and will not show up on the stats sheet. I think some of it was just better. Some of it I do have to just tip my cap to their defense being ready for what we were throwing at them. But again, like we saw, and much of the reason why I was excited when Kellen Moore came over last year, that creativity on offense, that motion, that playing to the strengths of his players. It feels like, I don't want to say a regression, but it feels like something's being left to be desired here. And I definitely think that there was an element of missing Goddard today. But also our number 2 in Calcaterra, I don't think he's any slouch as a tight end in his own right. And I don't know. Much like the chicken wings that I got today, I feel like there was some meat left on the bone.